Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet?
This is the W5FC repeater, PL110.9.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this station of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign, break, and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for that complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. Was Up. 6. Space exploration and space history. 7. Constellation of the week. 8. Space launches of the week. 9. Recent astronomical discoveries. 10. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 11. Astronomical Q&A, and 12. 73 round, if there's time. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So let's start with low power and short time check-ins. We want your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from this evening. Give me a second, I'm fumbling with my paper. All right, low power, short time, please come now. None heard. Let's take general check-ins.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
November 5, Bravo, Bill and Irving.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony and Dallas.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill.
Kilo
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth.
Wow, that's a short one tonight. We got Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom. November 5, Bravo Bravo, Bill. November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Z Bravo Lima, Bill. Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's take Echo Link.
Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe.
Okay, we got Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe. Okay, anybody else?
Kilo Echo 5, Echo November, Eric in Plano.
KF5, JHA, Chaz, Mesquite.
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Quinlan. Okay, we have Kilo Echo 5, Echo November, Eric. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz. And Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly. All right, well, I hope some more people come along and join us. Meanwhile, let's get started. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? Okay, other announcements. The AMSET Amateur Radio Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, you'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSET. Also, a live audio link is available on their website, amsetnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSET Net East, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. on this repeater, 146.88 megahertz. PL tone, 110.9 megahertz, Tuesdays. Tony, N5HYP is net, Tom, N5HYP is net control. All are welcome to check in. First Tuesday of the month is the DARC Club Night, so no AMSET East on that night. Dallas AMSET Net West is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz, PL 110.9 megahertz, positive offset. Other nets, first week, Ham Fixin's net on Monday. Second Monday, MCOM 101. Third, Ham Fixin's again. Fourth, GeekNet. Fifth, SurpriseNet. If we told you what it was, it wouldn't be a surprise. On-air participation is encouraged. Tuesdays, AMSET East, 8 p.m. Fridays, CERT City Simulation. The summer hours is 8 p.m. I guess we're still doing that. Learn about emergency radio communications via CERT-trained amateur radio operators. Melissa, KI5GRH, is usually net control. Visit the most disaster-prone city in the universe every Friday. CERT City, all are welcome. Saturdays, TechNet, 7 to 8 p.m., and of course, Skynet. First and third Sundays, Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air. That's what we call MODA. Then every day, there's the ARRL net, National Traffic System Training net, every night at 6:30 p.m. Central. All are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. But wait, there's more. At about 10:30, when we're finished with Skynet, we have the Afterglow movie net. We watch a movie during the week. On Sunday morning, we get the information about that week's movie. And Saturday night, we discuss it. I'd like to see if KE5ICX has information on tonight's movie.
Oh, yes, I do. I forgot to put it in the script, but I have it now. KE5ICX. Okay, I think you're waiting on me. Here it is. It wasn't very long before Sarah knew what had happened. While the aliens had taken over the world, what had really happened was far more sinister. Amway, the multi-level marketing endeavor created more than half a century ago, had actually taken over the aliens. While the aliens were really smart and knew how to travel from star to star, but discovered on their visit to Earth, Amway was the superior to them in every way. Strong-armed marketing and the promise of extra pocket cash had replaced their exploration goals with a simple need for pocket money. Before long, aliens were picking up hapless humans in their tractor beams and forcing them to buy laundry detergent, energy drinks, water filters, and expensive vitamins. But there was even more. The aliens, in their zeal to fulfill marketing figures, had managed to strip mine every human's bank account, resulting in bands of marauding gangs roaming the streets looking for any hapless human who might not yet have an Amway product and thus money in their pocket. Join us for the uplifting, happy-go-lucky alien invasion film, The Quiet Hour, from 2014 tonight at 10:30. Back to you, Net Control. This is KE5ICX.
Okay, any resemblance between that and the actual movie is purely coincidental. But join us at about 10:30. Even if you haven't seen the movie, that doesn't matter. You can still talk about science fiction and what you like, and give us your secret formula for time travel. Your secret will be safe with us. All right, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. Chaz, KF5JHA, do you have some information?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brenda. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be on Friday, September the 24th, at 6 days, at 7:30 p.m. The meeting was scheduled to be an in-person meeting, but due to the rise in COVID cases, it's been switched back to a Zoom meeting. The scheduled speaker is not going to be able to attend the meeting, so right now the only thing that's scheduled are the annual elections. Task Club members will receive an email link to the Zoom meeting sometime this week. Now, the Saturday public night observing sessions have also been placed on hold again. One of the reasons that Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights was because there was an opportunity for live reports from the task public observing sessions that are held also on Saturday nights. If you want to get more information, check out the website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about the meetings and public observing stations. And this is a Skynetolite returning net control back to our net control. This is KF5JHA.
thank you. Do we have any more check-ins at this point? Okay, this is...
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey. John in Norman, Oklahoma.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, John. I missed your call, John. Would you please come back with it?
This is N5BB, recheck.
N5BB, go ahead.
That was John, K5JDW on the Echolink. He seems to be having a problem. They're getting back with you there, Brenda, N5BB.
Okay, thank you so much. He doubled with me when he checked in, and I should know his call. I don't. Barely know my own. National Space Society events. Bill, N5BB, could you give us some news?
Why, certainly. This is N5BB. I happen to be the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, you can send me an email at my call sign, n5bb@arrl.net. You can also send me an email at space@byrom.net. That's BYROM.net. Either email address works. The National Space Society North Texas chapter normally has a meeting on the second Sunday afternoon of every month. Most of the meetings in the last 18 months have been virtual on WebEx, except for one meeting in, when was it, July, that was in person, but we went back to virtual because of the rise in the coronavirus cases. Our last meeting, which was virtual as I mentioned, was this last Sunday, September the 12th. Our speaker was a researcher at SMU, that's where he's physically located here in Dallas, and he is a researcher on temperature on space probes. So he deals with all kinds of things that measure temperature. So he's involved with some of the research being done on Mars right now, measuring the temperature of things. He was directly involved with the project that was trying to insert a sensor down into the Mars soil, and that failed because of the Mars soil was too loose, but they were at the location they were using. So the sensor wasn't, the thing they were inserting was not grabbing the soil well enough for their technique to work. And he's been involved with many other things, including some experiments that are currently planned for some future probes to the outer planets and moons of those planets. So, if you want to listen to that, the recording, there's a 1-hour recording of that presentation, that WebEx presentation. If you want to listen to that yourself, or if you want to visit our next meeting, which will, I'm sure, be virtual and will be on October the 10th, Sunday afternoon at 3:30. Don't know the topic yet. Again, you can send me an email at space@byram.net or n5bb@arrl.net, and I'll be glad to send you a link to the stored WebEx presentation, and in fact all of our presentations for the last 18 months, and anything else you'd like. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, you are heartily, you are invited to join the National Space Society and participate in its many events and its journal that is sent out to the members. That's all I've got tonight, except, of course, for the great news that the Inspiration 4 mission landed successfully a few hours ago in the Atlantic Ocean. It was about 35 hours duration, and four individuals who were not astronauts were on the mission in the Dragon capsule launched on a Falcon 9 rocket by SpaceX. As far as I can tell so far from reports I've seen, everything seemed to work flawlessly. N5BB, it's all got.
Thank you, Bill. Yes, that was very exciting. Also, Wally Funk, our local citizen astronaut, is going to be doing a presentation at the Frontiers of Flight Museum on October 2nd in the afternoon, 2 or 4, I'm not sure. You can go to flightmuseum.com and get information. It costs money. It's $35. I think she speaks and is doing book signings. You can buy her book. So she's a fantastic speaker. If you've never heard her speak, you'd be in for a treat. All right. Any more check-ins?
Recheck N5BB.
N5BB, go ahead.
Hidden on that website, you can't find it unless you go to the page to register for the ticket. You will find that this event at Frontiers of Flight Museum starts at 4 p.m. and ends at 8 p.m. I believe they're closing the rest of the museum, and it'll only be people that have tickets can get in, of course, to this event, starting at 4 p.m., ending at 8 p.m. on Saturday, October the 2nd, just as you described, N5BB.
Oh, thanks for that information. I knew they were closing the museum to the general public and only letting people paying for the event to come in. All right, moving along for our discussion topic of the evening, talking about space elevators. Space elevator is essentially a long cable extending from our planet's surface into space with its center of mass at geostationary Earth orbit, GEO. 35,786 kilometers in altitude. Electromagnetic vehicles traveling along the cable would serve as a mass transportation system for moving people, payloads, and power between Earth and space. Current plans call for a base tower approximately 50 kilometers tall. The cable would be tethered to the top. To keep the cable structure from tumbling to Earth, it would be attached to a large counterbalance mass beyond geostationary orbit. Perhaps an asteroid moved into place for that purpose. This system requires the center of mass to be in geostationary orbit. The cable is basically in orbit around the Earth. 4 to 6 elevator tracks would extend up the sides of the tower and cable structure, going to platforms at different levels. These tracks would allow electromagnetic vehicles to travel at speeds reaching thousands of kilometers per hour. Conceptual design takes place the tower construction at an equatorial site. The extreme height of the lower tower section makes it vulnerable to high winds. An equatorial location is ideal for a tower of such enormous height because the area is practically devoid of hurricanes and tornadoes and aligns properly with geostationary orbits, which are directly overhead. As early as 1895, a Russian scientist named Konstantin Tsiolkovsky suggested a fanciful celestial castle in the geosynchronous Earth orbit attached to a tower on the ground, not unlike Paris's Eiffel Tower. Arthur C. Clarke then popularized the idea in his 1979 novel Fountains of Paradise. There are 5 primary technological thrusts critical to the development of the elevator. The development of high-strength materials for both the cables or tethers and the tower. In a 1998 report, NASA Applications of Molecular Nanotechnology, researchers noted that maximum stress on a space elevator cable is at geosynchronous altitude, so the cable must be thickest there and taper exponentially as it approaches Earth. Any potential material may be characterized by the taper factor, the ratio between the cable's radius at geosynchronous altitude and at the Earth's surface. For the steel, the taper factor is tens of thousands, clearly impossible. For a diamond, the taper factor is 21.9, including a safety factor. Diamond is, however, brittle. Carbon nanotubes have a strength and tension similar to diamond, but bundles of these nanometer scale radius tubes shouldn't propagate cracks nearly as well as the diamond tetrahedral lattice. The second technology thrust is the continuation of tether technology development to gain experience in the deployment and control of such long structures in space. Third is the introduction of lightweight composite structural materials to the general construction industry for the development of taller towers and buildings. Buildings and towers can be constructed many kilometers high today using conventional construction materials and methods. There simply has not been a demonstrated need to do this that justifies the expense. Better materials may reduce the cost and make larger structures economical. Fourth was the development of high-speed electromagnetic propulsion for mass transportation systems, launch assist systems, and high-velocity launch rails. There are basically higher-speed versions of the trams now used at airports to carry passengers between terminals. They would float above the track, propelled by magnets using no moving parts. This feature would allow the space elevator to attain high vehicle speeds without the wear and tear that wheeled vehicles would put on the structure. Fifth was the development of transportation, utility, and facility infrastructures to support space construction and industrial development from Earth out to GEO. The high cost of constructing a space elevator can only be justified by high usage both by passengers and payload, tourists, and space dwellers. A lot of people are working on this concept. NASA, a few years ago, sponsored a contest where there was prize money for a very small elevator that went up a cable that was held by a crane. So they're working on it. One of the most interesting ideas is space elevator from the moon, and it would terminate at one of the Lagrange points, and so we could transport materials and people from the moon to a space station. So that's out there too. So during a speech he gave once, somebody in the audience asked Arthur C. Clarke when the space elevator would become a reality, and he said, probably about 50 years after everybody quits laughing. Everybody thinks this is a ridiculous idea, but just wait. One of these days, some bright person is going to come up with the idea, and then we'll see it, and it really is a wonderful idea. All right, this is WB50ZL. Do we have any more check-ins?
This is Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey at J, mobile on echoing.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris in Southeast Dallas.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
Okay, we got KGBZWJ and K0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo Chris. In Virginia, I mangled your call sign when I wrote it. Would you please repeat it?
No problem. That's November Victor 5 Foxtrot.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot. Okay. Welcome tonight. Anybody else? All right, let's move along to What's Up. Chaz, KF5JHA, what you got?
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening. Yes, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree's in astrophysics, and I'm in charge of the astrophysics lab at Dallas College on the Brookhaven campus. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up. Slide Master, slide number 2. On September the 13th, the moon was at its first quarter phase, so the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. On September the 20th, the moon will be full. On September the 26th, the moon is at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth. Slide Master, slide number 3, please. On September 22nd, this is the autumnal equinox. The autumnal equinox occurs at 8:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time this year, and the sun will shine directly overhead on the equator. There will be nearly equal amounts of day and night throughout the entire world on that day. This is also the first day of fall, the autumnal equinox, in the northern hemisphere, and the first day of spring, vernal equinox, in the southern hemisphere. And on this day, the sun rises east and sets west everywhere on the Earth. Now, it doesn't do it exactly east and west any other times, just on the equinoxes. Slide Master, slide number 4, please. On the night of October the 4th and 5th, the October Camelopardalis meteor shower peaks with about half a dozen meteors. And on the night of October the 7th and 8th, the Dracunid meteor shower peaks with up to 1,000 meteors per hour. Now, most of the time, this meteor shower only produces a few meteors per hour. Slide Master, slide number 5, please. On October the 9th, the moon is next to the planet Venus in the western evening sky. Paintings and jewelry and all sorts of inspirations have come from the sight of Venus and the moon together in the sky. I hope it's a clear evening. And slide number 6. On the night of October the 9th and 10th, the southern Taurid meteor shower peaks with about a half a dozen meteors per hour. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 7, please. Once again, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held in just 6 days on September the 24th at 7:30 p.m. It'll be a virtual meeting. The main event is going to be the annual elections of officers. Club members will receive a link to the Zoom meeting in advance of the meeting. And Saturday night, public observing sessions for throughout the Metroplex have been put on hold once again because of the COVID. Because you might need to find out up-to-date information that can change regularly, go to their website, texasastro.org, for that information. Slide Master, slide number 8, please. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any of the information that I've just given you? Or maybe you just have a general astronomy question. I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question, or someone on the net might know the answer to your question. So if you have a question, come now with your call sign. Okay, I guess there is none. Slide number 9, please. So as the moon waned at the beginning of September, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, at least for now. Until next week, well, actually, I'll be doing another Skynet segment in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA, back to our net control. I believe that's Brenda.
Last time I checked, WB50ZL. Next up, Tom, KE5ICX, is going to give us news, history, and birthdays. Go ahead, Tom.
Very good. Thank you, Miss Brenda. This is KE5ICX, and this is now past tense. I didn't check the time, but yes, the SpaceX Crew Dragon Resilience splashed down in the Atlantic Ocean near Florida tonight around 7 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, 6 o'clock ours. SpaceX handled the broadcast thing live, which is very interesting. Came down for complete shoots, and the crew was recovered. So it looks like this is the first time that a all-tourist crew has been aboard the any spacecraft, and no professional astronauts were needed. How about that, huh? So that will be the beginning of more of that going into the future. So I had to paraphrase that since I had past tense here. So what else have we got? Now, this sounds like something out of science fiction, and in kind of a way it is. It sounds like it is called time crystal. This is something that otherworldly time crystal is made inside Google, yes, the search engine people, quantum computer, could change physics forever. Researchers working in partnership with Google may have just used the tech giant's quantum computer to create a completely new phase of matter, a time crystal, with the ability to forever cycle between two states without ever losing energy. Time crystals dodge one of the most important laws of physics, the second law of thermodynamics, which states that the disorder and entropy of an isolated system must always increase. This bizarre time crystals remain stable, resisting any dissolution into randomness, despite existing in a constant state of flux. According to a research article posted on July 28, the preprint database on ARXIV scientists were able to create the time crystal roughly 100 seconds using qubits, that's quantum computing version of a traditional computer bit, inside the core of Google's Sycamore quantum processor. The existence of this weird new matter phase and an entirely new realm of physical barriers it reveals is incredibly exciting to physicists, especially time crystals were only first predicted to exist just 9 years ago. Now, I got a bunch of birthdays for you. We do have on September 12th, we've got Dr. Roger Keith Crouch from 1940. He was on STS-83 and STS-94. In I don't have a picture of that person. 1966, I got Anishesni Risin Asiri. First Iranian who flew in space and flew on Soyuz TMA-9. became the fourth space tourist. Ansari has served on the boards of directors at Make-A-Wish of North Texas, Collin County Children's Advocacy Network, and she's been active with several nonprofit organizations, including nonprofit Iranian American Woman Federation organization. Other nonprofit organizations include Ascota in support of local entrepreneurs. The reason I put her on there and gave that little bit is that she also has been a speaker at the Frontiers of Flight Museum. And I didn't manage to even get a picture. I got so excited about putting in a little bit about her, but at any rate, she's been to a couple of moon days, so at least one. Next, on September 14th, 1950, Dr. Eugene Hu Chu Trin, he was on STS-50. In 1958, on September 14th, we have John Bennett Harrington, STS-113. September 15th, we have, from 1941, Miroslav Hermaszewski on Soyuz 30. I have a picture of him up if you want to see it. On September 16th, we have, from 1956, Kevin Richard Kriegel. He was on board STS-70, 78, 67, and 99. On September 17th, 1930, Edgar Mitchell from Apollo 14. Yeah, one of the crazy astronauts, Ed Mitchell. Also, on 1930, the same day, is another crazy astronaut, but he's a general, Tom Stafford, who flew Gemini 6A, Gemini 9A, Apollo 10, and the ASTP, or Apollo-Soyuz Test Project. In 1943, we have Sam Durant. He flew on STS-35 and 67. 1961, same date, September 17th, we have Pamela Ann Melroy. She flew on STS-92, 112, and 120. Now, on to history. I think it's the 14th, was I guess I didn't put my dates down. I don't do these enough, so I get messed up. But I'll tell you, 1962, Kennedy spoke at Rice University about Americans' commitment to the moon, and his famous speech, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and the others too." Just 6 years later, on July 20th, 1969, American astronauts walked on the moon. 1966, we had the launch of Gemini 11. It was the 9th crewed flight of the Gemini spacecraft. Astronauts Charles P. Conrad and Richard or Dick Gordon performed the first ever direct ascent, first orbit rendezvous with an Agena target vehicle, docking with it 1 hour 34 minutes after launch. Used the Agena rocket engine to achieve a world record high apogee Earth orbit, and created a small amount of artificial gravity by spinning the two spacecraft connected by a tether. Gordon also performed 2 extravehicular activities for a total of 2 hours and 41 minutes. In 1970, the launch of Luna 16. It's an uncrewed space mission, part of the Soviet Luna program. It was the first robotic probe to land on the moon and return a sample of lunar soil to Earth, or regolith. It's not soil. It has to have microorganisms if it's soil. It was 3.56 ounces. The sample was returned from the Mare Ephanditis, you say it. It represents the first successful lunar sample return mission by the Soviet Union. It's the third lunar sample return mission overall, following Apollo 11 and 12. 1991, the launch of STS-48 on September 12th. These are all September 12th dates. Primary payload was the Upper Atmosphere Research Satellite. Mission landed on September 18th at Edwards Air Force Base. Also, on this date, 1992, STS-47. There's a rather humorous picture up there of the crew and some extras from the side. STS-47 was the 50th Space Shuttle mission of the program, as well as the second mission of the Space Shuttle Endeavour. The mission mainly involved conducting experiments in life and material sciences. 1993, launch of STS-51, that's singular by the way, was a Space Shuttle Discovery mission that launched the Advanced Communication Technology Satellite, or ACS, in September of 1993. In 2017, Soyuz MS-6 launched. It transported, this is September 13th, 3 members of the Expedition 53 crew to the International Space Station. It was the 135th flight of a Soyuz spacecraft. The crew consisted of a Russian commander and 2 American flight engineers. On September 13th, 1961, a Mercury Atlas 4 was an unmanned spaceflight of the Mercury program. It was launched at 1409 UTC Complex 14 in Cape Canaveral, Florida. A crew simulator instrument package was aboard. The craft orbited the Earth once. And here's one that everybody should love, the second drop test of Shuttle Enterprise in 1977. Called Alt-13, it was the second free flight of the Shuttle Enterprise, dropped from a 747. The spacecraft flew at 310 miles per hour at 26,000 feet with Joe Engel and Richard Truly at the controls. On September 14th, launch of Zod-5, it became the second spaceship to travel to and circle the moon, and the first to return safely to Earth. Zod-5 carried the first terrestrial organisms in the vicinity of the moon, including 2 tortoises, fruit fly, eggs, and plants. And yes, this was a vehicle that was destined to be manned, but it was canceled in favor of the N1, which ultimately failing spectacularly. Let's see here. The Venera 12 mission was launched in 1978 on the 13th. It was a Soviet uncrewed space mission to explore the planet Venus during a flyby of the planet. On September 15th, yes, there's lots of stuff going on here, was the launch of Soyuz 22. It's an Earth Sciences mission using a modified Soyuz spacecraft, and was also, some observers speculated, a mission to observe NATO exercises near Norway. The spacecraft was a refurbished Soyuz that served as a backup for the Apollo-Soyuz test project the previous year. In 2016 on this date, I didn't put an explanation in, but is the launch of the Tiangong-2 core module for the space station. This was a test article only. It was designed to see if they could put a space station in orbit, and indeed they had. I missed it. I forgot to put it in today. The tachyonauts have come back from the current Tiangong, which would be, I guess, technically 3, that is in space right now. So there you have it. They came back. I've got a picture of the launch vehicle for 2. We have on September 16th, STS-79 was the 17th flight of the Space Shuttle Atlantis and the 79th mission of the Space Shuttle program. 1985, Soyuz T-14 demonstrates the wisdom of maintaining a Soyuz at Salyut 7 as an emergency medical evacuation vehicle. The mission commander, Vatchin, fell ill, which forced an early termination of the planned 6-month mission. The main goal of the mission was to receive Cosmos 1686, a modified TKS, and conduct spacewalks with applications to future space stations. First goal was achieved on October 2nd. Cosmos 1686 contained 9,900 pounds of freight, including large items like a girder to be assembled outside Salyut 7 and a crystallizator materials processing apparatus. However, the crew of Soyuz T-14 were unable to achieve their second goal. By late October, Vasyutin was no longer helping with experiments because he was so ill. On November 13th, the cosmonauts began scrambling their communications with the TSUP. Return to Earth occurred soon after. Sources at NASA have reported that psychologists with the Russian Aviation and Space Agency cited Soyuz T-14 as ending prematurely due to mood and performance issues with the crew. Vasyutin's illness is said to have been caused by a prostate infection or urinary tract infection, which had manifested itself as inflammation and a fever. So that's it. There's more. I guess I missed a couple of things. But at any rate, you got to hear most of it. Very, very busy week in space. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have any more check-ins?
W5 BLT, W5 Bravo Lima Tango, Garland, name is Bill.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India WD4MFI, Ted Dallas Low Power.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Alpha Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
All right, we have W5BLT Bill, WB4MFI Ted, and KG5APL Patrick. Thank you all for joining. Next up, we have Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. I'm going to call on Chaz, KF5JH8, to present this.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening once again, everyone. Slide Master, slide number 10. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year, out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covered the entire sky as seen from Texas in a year. In her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is Cygnus the Swan. Now, Cygnus is almost straight overhead. That's how I pick the Constellation of the Week, is I pick something that's visible in the sky, either overhead or along the meridian, so that we can go out and take a look at it either before or after Skynet. So Cygnus is the constellation of the Swan, since it is not hard to use the stars of Cygnus to trace out the basic shape of a swan flying along the Milky Way. It's not surprising to learn that Cygnus has been visualized as a swan by many different cultures in the past. One myth, Cygnus is the swan whose form Zeus adopted in order to seduce Queen Leda of Sparta. In another, Orpheus, the father of song, was transformed into a swan after he was murdered. I just want to know, if he was murdered, how does he transform into a swan? I have lots of questions, don't have all the answers. Cygnus is one of the 3 constellations that are involved in the well-known asterism of the Summer Triangle. Cygnus' brightest star, Deneb, forming one of the 3 stars at the corner of the triangle. The other 2 stars are Vega in the constellation of Lyra and Altair in the constellation of Aquila the Eagle. The brightest stars of Cygnus form another well-known asterism, the Northern Cross. And Slide Master, slide number 11, please. Maybe we can send John in Oklahoma a list of places that'll deliver food to him. He says he's hungry. Okay, the reason why you're staying this late on Skynet, I'm sure, and this is the reason why you love Skynet, is because of Jokes of the Week. And I've been starting a joke of the day at work, so if I get a response, if they moan or whatever, roll their eyes, at least I know they're still awake. So, how do you get down off of an elephant? You don't, but you can get down off of a swan. Guy said, I'm great at identifying birds. His friend said, okay, what are those on that tree? And the guy said, yes, they're all birds. Okay, maybe that one wasn't that funny. Did you hear the Pope had caught the bird flu? Yeah, he got it from a cardinal. Okay, I thought that was funny. I love the sound of a swan made this morning. So we tweeted it. What's the difference between a bird flu, the swine flu, and a swan flu? Well, for the bird flu, you need to tweetment. For the swine flu, you need ointment. And the swan flu, you stick your neck out and wing it. Okay, I don't know. And the final one for this evening, well, at least for this part anyway, why do swans make bad basketball players? Because they're always committing fouls. Slide master, slide number 12, please. Deneb, or Alpha Cygni, is the brightest star in Cygnus the Swan. The name Deneb is derived from the Arabic word which means tail, owing to its position on the tail of the swan. Deneb is also the head or the top of the Northern Cross. As such, has been referred to as the Star of the Cross, according to Burnham's Celestial Handbook. Oh no, Bob wants in to get fed. I hear him meowing in the background. Maybe you can hear him too. Deneb is blue-white supergiant, one of the greatest supergiant stars known, shining brightly at magnitude 1.3 seen from the Earth, despite its distance of about 1,700 light years away. Slide number 13, please. Alberio is also known as Beta Cygni. It's a beautiful third magnitude double star. Alberio is considered to be one of the most beautiful double stars in the sky due to the contrasting colors of its two members. The primary is yellow, and the fifth magnitude companion is blue or a blue-green. These two colors make for a easily noticeable color contrast. And as such, Alberio is a great demonstration object for showing newcomers to astronomy that stars come in many different colors, and they're not just all white. Another trait that makes Alberio a good introductory object is the fact that they're easily split by any telescope. In fact, if you can split it with a pair of binoculars if you're holding them very steady or if they're mounted on a tripod, which is a reason why it's a great candidate for the Astronomical League Binocular Double Star Observing Club. Alberio is about 410 light years away, and since both stars share the same proper motion, it is believed to be a true physical pair. Slide master, slide number 14, please. That joke was probably funnier than mine. Yeah, JJ on Echolink says, was that Jazz's Swan song? Slide master, yeah, we're on slide number 14. Cygnus X1 is the first black hole to be scientifically identified by astronomers. It is part of a binary star system with a black hole and a blue supergiant star known as HD 226868 orbiting around each other. Of course, the black hole itself cannot be observed with backyard telescopes, but HD 226868 has a visual magnitude of 8.95, so it's easily visible in virtually all amateur instruments. It lies about half a degree from the fourth magnitude Eta Cygni. And this is KF5, JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 15, please. NGC 7000 is also known as the North American Nebula and located near Deneb. The North American Nebula can be seen with the naked eye as a bright spot in the Milky Way from a dark sky site, if you know exactly where to look. Using a nebula filter held in front of the eyes makes it even easier. I mean, not through a telescope, just hold the nebula filter up to your eye. Binoculars or low-power wide-field telescope are best for observing NGC 7000, North American Nebula. In fact, it is generally agreed that smaller, short-focus instruments in 3 or 4 inch size are the best, and it can be seen in a 10-inch Dobsonian, but with the lowest power. And it can't be seen at all at once in a larger telescope like that. Slide master, slide number 16. IC 5070 is better known as the Pelican Nebula. It is located right next to NGC 7000 out in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. which is probably an appropriate place for pelicans. I'm sorry, I just can't help myself. And NGC 7000 and it are believed to be two parts of the same gas cloud out in outer space. It's the only intervening dark nebula that makes them look like two separate nebulae, much like the Great Nebula of Orion, M42, and its nearby neighbor, M43. They look like two different nebulae, but they're actually a single cloud split by an intervening dark nebula. Slide Master, slide number 17. M29 is an open star cluster of stars that does not stand out distinctly from the Milky Way background, but it might if it were not in the intervening dust clouds. The particular area of the Milky Way where M29 is located is heavily obscured with dust, dimming the stars of M29 by at least 3 magnitudes. M29 would be a very striking object. It could be seen without the intervening dust clouds. Slide Master, slide number 18. M39 is an open star cluster and is visible to the naked eye from dark sky sites. Dave Hutchinson notes that he saw it without optical aid. Stephen J. O'Meara also notes that it is visible to the naked eye as well, appearing as a small fuzzy patch about 9 degrees east-northeast of Deneb. Being a naked eye object, M39 makes for a wonderful binocular object, but in a telescope it requires low power to see all of the cluster members at once. Slide number 19, please. NGC 6826 is the blinking nebula or the blinking planetary. Now, it looks exactly the way that Dave Hutchinson describes in his article in the TASS newsletter called The Spectrum. The reason that the nebula appears to blink is because the central star overwhelms the eye. So if you look at it quickly, you just see the star. But if you let your eye look at the entire view through the eyepiece, you might notice the nebulosity out of the corner of your eye. Then you look at the star again, and the nebula is gone. In other words, using averted vision on the object, you can see it. So the best way to see it, keep switching between averted vision and direct vision, and you'll see the nebula blink. Slide number 20, please. You haven't figured it out. Cygnus is in the middle of the Milky Way, or the Milky Way runs right through it, and it has a lot of objects. And this is the final one I want to talk about. It has lots of different numbers with it: NGC 6960, NGC 6974, NGC 6992. They're all part of something called the Veil Nebula. It was discovered by William Herschel in 1784 with an 18-inch telescope. Robert Burnham Jr. wrote in Burnham's Celestial Handbook that many observers have seen the brightest portions of the veil in 7x50 binoculars. 7x50, it is faint but unmistakable. Stephen J. O'Meara confirms this, and you can see much more of it with a 10-inch Dobsonian without a filter. It resembles faint cirrus clouds that are fairly featureless. Therefore, an O3 filter is a must-have tool for viewing the Veil Nebula. The western veil, NGC 6960, is easily found because it appears in touch with the foreground star 52 Cygni, which is magnitude 4.2. It's a naked eye star. It's easily visible in a finder scope. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 21, please. There are more Astronomical League Observing Program objects in the constellation of Cygnus, the Swan, or the Northern Cross. I've just given you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 70, in fact, I believe it's 73 observing programs, most of which have around 100 objects. So, if you observe just 10 different objects in that observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year. Slide number 22, and that is Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, Cygnus the Swan. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and I steal every Saturday night. Also, at times I use the website constellation-god.com for information as well. Next time I'll take a look at two constellations. It's at 2 for night. Delphinus, the dolphin, and Equus, the horse. And this is KF5, JHA, send the net back to our net control. Brenda, it's all yours. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Jazz. This is WV50ZL. Do we have any more check-ins? Okay, next, space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX, take it away.
Thank you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX. By the way, the space flight now launch schedule, which is available at spaceflightnow.com, and Space Coast Launches, which is spacecoastlaunches.com, will send out reminders. All you have to do is go to their respective websites, and it'll let you know when there is a launch coming up, and you can watch it in real time. Space.com also does this. If you go there, you'll find it, and if you have the capability, which most modern computers do now, is you get a little message up in the corner of your screen to indicate that there is a pending launch. Let's see, September 23rd, we have an Atlas V launch from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California on SLC-3E. The Atlas V rocket will launch a Landsat 9 Earth observation satellite for NASA and the U.S. Geological Survey. It's built by Northrop Grumman. Landsat 9 will continue a series of Landsat images of the Earth dating back nearly 50 years. The rocket will fly in the 401 vehicle configuration with 4-meter fairing, no solid rocket boosters, and a single-engine Centaur upper stage. In September, we have also, but it's not Jane, a Long March 7 Tinsao 3 launch. The Tinsao 3 resupply ship will dock at the Chinese space station. The automated cargo craft is the second resupply freighter for the Chinese space station. September 30th, October 1st is a launch from the Uchinora Space Center in Japan. This is RAISE 2. The Japanese Epsilon rocket will launch the Rapid Innovative Payload Demonstration Satellite 2, or RAISE 2, technology demonstration satellite for the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. 8 smaller rideshare payloads will also be on the launch. Then in October, we have a launch from the Hyatt Peninsula in New England. This one will be the Electron rocket, which will launch 2 small satellites for the Black Skies commercial fleet of Earth observation spacecraft. Rocket Lab has nicknamed this mission Love at First Insight. Get it? That's coming up sometime in October. The date has not been chosen yet. Well, that's it. I don't have a lot for you this evening on those. Back to you, Brenda. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you very much, Tom. Next up, recent astronomical discoveries. This article is entitled, Part of the Universe's Missing Matter Found. Galaxies are like islands of stars in the universe and possess ordinary or baryonic matter, which consists of elements from the periodic table as well as dark matter whose composition remains unknown. One of the major problems in understanding the formation of galaxies is that approximately 80% of the baryons that make up normal matter of galaxies is missing. According to models, they were expelled from galaxies into intergalactic space by the galactic winds created by stellar explosions. An international team led on the French side by researchers from CNRS and La Université Claude Bernard Lyon 1 successfully used the MUSE instrument to generate a detailed map of the galactic wind driving exchanges between a young galaxy in formation and a nebula, a cloud of gas, and interstellar dust. The team chose to observe GAL-1 due to the proximity of quasar, which served as a lighthouse for the scientists by guiding them toward the area of study. They also planned to observe a nebula around this galaxy, although the success of this observation was initially uncertain, as the nebula's luminosity was unknown. The perfect positioning of the galaxy and the quasar, as well as the discovery of gas exchange due to galactic winds, made it draw up a unique map. This enabled the first observation of a nebula in formation that is simultaneously emitting and absorbing magnesium, some of the universe's missing baryons, with the GAL-1 galaxy. This type of normal matter nebula is known in the near universe, but their existence for young galaxies in formation had only been supposed. Scientists thus discovered some of the universe's missing baryons, thereby confirming that 80 to 90% of normal matter is located outside of galaxies, an observation that will help expand models for the evolution of galaxies. All right, that's it. This is WB5OZL. And let's call for some more check-ins. Okay, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. I'm going to call on Tom, KE5ICX, to give us some insight.
All right, Miss Brenda, let's see here. We have International Space. By the way, I went out to look for the Inspiration 4. It flew over the house, I think it was yesterday. I went outside, it was a magnitude 3. I never did see it. I looked and looked and looked and never did see it. But, oh well, the International Space Station is a completely different story with a minus 2 magnitude. September 18th is a good pass, minus 2.4 magnitude at 19:59 or 8 o'clock our time. It reaches highest point at 40 degrees at 20:02, and then it'll fall at 20:06. 02 to the northeast. That's September 18th. The current Tiangong, which I guess is 3 really if you want to take it to that level. There are a couple of good passes. September 25th, a 1.4 magnitude, 6:02 in the morning out of the south-southwest. Reaches highest point at 6:03 at 59 degrees of the south-southeast, and it'll fall at 6:51 or 6:06:51 out of the east-northeast. September 27th also shows a good pass. This is a magnitude 2.0, 5:39. This one is coming out of shadow, however, so it'll be at its highest point at 46 degrees out of the northeast, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 5:41. Next up is the X-37. That's the unmanned winged spacecraft that is in orbit. Let's see here. Oh, I didn't put any dates in here. Let's see. The 18th, that was earlier that was this morning. Let me find another one here. September 20th has a fairly good pass, 6:22 a.m. out of the west-southwest. It reaches highest point at 6:24 at 58 degrees, and it'll fall at 6:28 to the northeast. One other one I guess I can give you on that one is September 21st, a 2.0 magnitude. That one's getting a little dim, 5:27 in the morning out of the east-northeast. It also is coming out of shadow, and then it falls at 5:29 out of the east-northeast. Envisat, that's our old standby when the ISS isn't available. This is a polar satellite that has been out of commission for quite a while, but it's a very large satellite, so its footprint is pretty large. We have three passes that are pretty good. September 21st. This one is a 3.2 magnitude, 6:31 in the morning of the northeast. It's almost directly overhead at 6:36 at 81 degrees and falls 6:41 to the south. On September 24th, we also have another pass. Now we're getting a little dim now. 6:20 It is a 3.6 magnitude, 620, reaches highest point at 625, and will fall at 6:30 to the south. And then finally on the 26th, another 3.0, 6:45 a.m. out of the north at 6:50, it reaches 72 degrees, and then at 6:55, it'll fall to the south-southwest. That's it from me. Those are the better passes for the next few days. Back to you, Miss Brenda, KE5I6.
Thank you, Tom. Well, we're running a little ahead of schedule. We have time for astronomical Q&A if anybody has questions for our experts. Go ahead.
KE5EN.
KE5EN, go ahead.
My question is for Chaz. And Chaz, my question is, do you have a favorite constellation? And if so, what is it?
KF5JHA, you can answer directly.
Maybe I can pick two. By name, Telescopium is awesome. It's very low in the south, as viewed from Texas, but it's a constellation. When the explorers went further south, that was the age of exploration, and it's also when we were inventing things. So telescopium, microscopium, those kind of things, well, they're constellations in the sky. Anyway, telescopium is a great one, just for namesake only. But you know, the one we covered tonight, Cygnus, has so many different objects in it. I think that's right up there as well. And of course, everyone can find Orion, and Orion is something that a lot of people look for in the wintertime sky, and it has some very favorite objects to look for too. So I'm sorry, you wanted one, I gave you three. KF5JHA.
Well, that's a bonus. Thank you, Chaz. Anybody else have comments or questions? Okay, any final check-ins? Please come now. Well, I guess we'll finish a little early. Hold on a second. Okay, I guess people are busy. I don't know what everybody's doing, but we only had 17 hams participating on the air tonight. That includes me. But thanks for all who've checked into this net this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, well, first let's plug Afterglow Net. Movie tonight is called The Silent Hour, and it's an aliens take over the world story. Like that hasn't been done before, and these people are trying to survive against the aliens and some bad guys. So it's not a bad movie, but if you watched it, check in and tell us what you think. So until next Saturday night, this is WB50ZL, Brenda. I'll be closing the net at 10:20 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And we're going to, Tom, you have a time for us to start? KE5ICX.
Yeah, we'll take about a 10-minute break, and we'll be back at 10:30 on the money at KE5ICX.
All right, this is WB50ZL clear.
Normal state.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
All right, this is KE5ICX. No, I didn't beg anybody to come and be the net control this evening. I'll go ahead and do it this evening, even though I'm losing my voice, and I have severe allergies tonight, and I'm on some sort of medication that's supposed to stop the sniffling, which means I see things that I shouldn't see, and I'm not even near a window. So this is KE5ICX. I'll be your net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's Afterglow movie is the 2014 United Kingdom science fiction sleeper called The Quiet Hour. I tried to find more descriptions of this movie, and they're all the same, which comes from the liner notes from the DVD, so that should tell you something about the film. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and read the synopses, and then afterwards I will take check-ins, and we'll ask if you've seen the movie The Quiet Hour from 2014. If you haven't, that's okay. You don't necessarily have to have seen the film. We'll ask you some other question, like alien invasions. What's your favorite? What's the worst? Would you go and watch this movie if you were given half an opportunity to, even after getting good or bad reviews from this small group of humans here in Dallas? So we'll find out. Here we go. This is the description, and I bet you it's on the back of the DVD. In the quiet hour, humans are few and far between since Earth was invaded by unseen extraterrestrial machines that harvest the planet's natural resources and relentlessly kill its inhabitants. In a remote part of the countryside where starved humans have become as dangerous as the alien machines hovering in the sky, a feisty 19-year-old girl, Sarah Connolly, sets out on a desperate attempt to fight back a group of bandits and defend her parents' farm, their remaining livestock, and the solar panels that keep them safe from extraterrestrials. If she doesn't succeed, she will lose her only source of food and shelter. But if she resists, she and her helpless blind sibling will be killed. And if the mysterious intruder dressed like a soldier who claims he can help them turns out to be a liar, then the enemy may already be in the house. That's your teaser. Stars Dakota Blue Richards. She was in The Golden Compass, Skins. Carl Davies from Game of Thrones and Happy Valley. Bridget Miller from James Bond Spectre, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and British TV star Jack McMullen. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and take check-ins from anybody who'd like to check in. Please come with your call sign name. Let me know if you saw the movie or not. Check-ins are not required that you see the movie, but if you have, just let me know. Please come with your call sign name. And did you see The Quiet Hour from 2014? Let's begin.
W5BLT, Whiskey 5 Bravo Lima Tango, Bill, Garland, saw the movie.
November 5 Bravo Bravo, Bill in Irving. Yes, I did see the movie.
Kilo 0 Foxtrot Echo Romeo, Chris in Southeast Dallas, and yes, I saw the movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony in Dallas, I did not see the movie.
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. I did see the movie.
This is N5H4P. I don't know if you got me. We did see the movie.
All pause there for a minute. That's a very promising group. I got W5BLT, that's Bill and Garland. Yep, he saw it. N5BB, the other Bill in Irving. Yep, he saw it. K0FER, Chris in Southeast Dallas. Yep, he saw it. ND5TM, Tony, you get the slide whistle noise down or the boom, 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 boom from that. What is it? The Price is Right. Or The Price is Wrong. No, he did not see the movie. But we'll ask you questions about it anyway. KV9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. Yep, he saw the movie. And Tom and Company, N5HYP, they saw the movie. Anyone else who would like to check in? The Quiet Place from 2014's tonight's movie. Please come with your call sign, name, and did you see the film?
This is WB5OZL checking in. I checked in earlier. I guess somebody jumped on, was on top of me. Anyway, this is Brenda DeSoto, and yes, I saw the movie.
Kilo Golf goes to the Whiskey J near Weatherford. I did not see the film and also short time, so just check in for the count.
Okay, we picked up WB50ZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto. She saw the movie. KG5BZW, that's J. Ernie Weatherford. No, he did not, and he's short time, so I'm crossing you off the list. Go to bed, get your beauty sleep. Anyone else want to check in? Please come to your call sign, name, where you're and whether you saw the movie or not. All right, very good. Let's see here. Let me just go ahead and put some random numbers in here to see. I'm closing my eyes for number 1, so that's going to be this one. I got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So we got 9 check-ins, including myself. So I closed my eyes and put my pen on a piece of paper, and then I alternated back and forth between the individuals, so I made this as fair as I could. So starting off on the list, Sean, you may have been first last time, but I've got KV9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. We're going to talk about the plot. After that is Tom and Company, N5HYP, and then, Tony hasn't seen the film, but he would be next. You can talk about alien invasions, and then Brenda. So I'll keep you in line, starting with Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what did you think about the plot to this film? Go right ahead from KE5I6.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK, and yes, allergies are high today. Actually, I felt a pretty decent movie. This was sort of a sci-fi, but not really. In some respects, I feel that this was supposed to be more of a kind of a thriller, suspense kind of movie, more than it was focused on the aliens. After all, we never really seen any aliens other than just the ships. But yeah, obviously this is kind of your classic, defend off the bad guys. Not a lot as far as what I would say originality, though, because it seemed very predictable. Not necessarily that's always a bad thing. It's pretty much movie just about defending the house. There wasn't a whole lot, anything deeper than that. I felt that the character of the guy that attempted to rob them seemed like a little bit on the creepy side kind of a dude. You never really knew what his real plan was. Then in the end, he ended up obviously helping them. But I really don't have a lot unique to say about this movie because it's really just kind of about them defending it. So that's really all I have. Back to net control, KB9SOK.
All right, very good, Sean. Actually, what I would call this one is like a one-act play or a one-scene play. Virtually everything took place in it as though it were a stage play. So, it kind of had that vibe and feel, which means that you're going to try and develop your characters more since you don't have a lot of scenery changes. Next up is N5HYP, Tom and Company. What did you think of The Quiet Hour from 2014 from KE5ICX?
Hey, Tom and Lynette, KE5ICX, N5HYP. Yeah, Holly and Anna sat together and watched it last night. I mean, I think we all thought it was kind of an intriguing little story. It's kind of funny. The name doesn't really tell you much. I mean, they talked about the fact that there was, just this couple hours where they could get out and do stuff, but that didn't seem to really fall into the plot very well. Didn't really fit with the with the action, which was again mostly the kind of the human post-apocalyptic aftermath. It did have a few plot twists. You weren't sure the guy who invaded the house at first, kind of tried, ultimately, he was under suspect. He ultimately redeemed himself, but paid the price in the end. So it wasn't like you said. I think it wasn't as much of an alien film as it was a human reaction film. And so it was okay. It was obviously fairly low budget. They did have some interesting names for actors, and as you mentioned before, and so I don't know. It was okay. Wasn't spectacular. And by the way, there was a lot of. I didn't get a chance to get back in and look at what the radio screen or what radio they were using, but I did catch 145 megahertz. So I guess there was a heck of a lot of apocalyptic activity on 2 meters. Back to net from N5HYP.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. I noticed that as well. I was thinking there were probably a bunch of bofongs that somebody found on somebody's doorstep from Prime or something, and everybody decided to break them out and use them. And there was some radio after that these individuals were using that. Don't know, but it must have been all mode because it sounded more like, HF than it sounded like 2 meters. So maybe they were using, who knows? I don't know. Maybe somebody can explain all that to us. But, okay, next up, believe it or not, Tony, it's you. We know you didn't see the movie, but would you watch a movie about two people that are left behind their kids? One's blind, the other one's not. There's a lot of screaming and yelling and shooting at one another. Would you like to see that kind of a movie? NT5TM from KE5ICX.
I don't know. There's a lot of movies you could simplify into a summary like that. There seems to be a great deal of yelling and screaming and shooting at one another in American movies. It gets a little tedious at times, in fact. I don't know. I'm kind of tired and have the sleep goofies after working on a big cleaning project today that's going to continue tomorrow and probably the time after work during this week. So I think the only alien invasion movie I'm in the mood for would have to be a goofy one like They Live. I love the ridiculous fist fights one character has to use to get them to wear the special sunglasses. So, I don't know, you can try calling on me later. I might be asleep, I might be here, who knows. But yeah, running and screaming and yelling and shooting at each other, that sounds like a pretty American movie, really. NT5TM.
I'm sorry, Tony. You're going to get the boom, 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 boom. It's a British film. And I don't know where they got all the weapons from. I didn't think they had any of that, but they did. They had a lot of rifles and things. Okay, well, we'll cautiously call on you again later. Next up is WB50ZL, Miss Brenda. Your thoughts on the plot to this film from KE5I6?
Well, this is WB50ZL. To me, I thought they were just kind of lazy by not explaining anything. Maybe they thought, ooh, this will make it mysterious, but I think it would have been more interesting had they developed something. Like, why were the aliens there? What did they want? How come we never saw them? And, who are these people? And, what were they doing? And a lot of mystery around the strangers, the guy that came into the house, and the other people. Everybody seemed to be lying or hiding something. So just a lot of unexplained things. And then they just left, just like that. And that was it. And I thought, this is kind of a cop-out that they didn't even bother to build a story around this. Just, the aliens were there and killing people, and and the bad guys were coming up and trying to steal your stuff, and you're trying to survive. In many ways, it was engaging. There's a lot of tension and a lot of intrigue as the people snuck around. So, and that way it was a good movie that you were, it held your attention as you're trying to figure out what's going to happen next. All right, WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Next up is Chris, K0FER. Chris, your thoughts on the plot from KE5I6?
There was a plot? I found it to be very meandering. I went back and looked at it. The radio's an ICOM IC710, if that matters to anyone. But as far as the plot, I'm of the opinion that if you're going to write an apocalypse movie, you have to interact with what caused the apocalypse in some fashion. If it's a zombie movie, there have to be zombies that that have to be involved somehow. Aliens. If you don't want to do that, then pick a apocalypse that's that you don't have to. Asteroid hits the Earth. Virus. Just anything. But they chose aliens, and then show the aliens, and then use the aliens for one time in the most useless way. And I never understood, why asbestos blankets and roofing protected them from, I don't know. I'm wondering how this script got greenlit, honestly. It just really didn't go anywhere. If you want to see a good, quiet movie, then I would go to watch A Quiet Place. It has aliens, and they are a factor, but really the enemy is the people, just like this one. I wasn't a fan of this one. Back to that, K0FER.
All right, thank you, Chris. And we keep coming up with all these names. I just thought of a movie that maybe we should watch. It's called The Silent Earth. Do you sense a theme? I do. The quiet, what we got, the quiet hour and the quiet Earth and the silent Earth and all those things. Okay, next up is Bill, N5BB. Bill, I know you saw it, and you thought it was fantastic, so tell us why. From KE5ICS.
How did you get that idea, Tom?
Oh, Bill, I could tell from the glee in your voice when you said I'm checking in, and I knew you liked it. It's like a science fiction musical. So go right ahead. What did you really think about the movie?
Oh, okay, Tom. I guess I'll make my comments. This is N5BB. Well, I would not call this a stinker, but I also would not call it a very good movie. If you think about it, it was a pretty simple movie. Very few actors, very few scenes, very little special effects required, too much violence. I mean, an attempted rape and several shootings at close range and other kind of close violence. And very little description about what's really going on science fiction-wise. But there is a little bit that you may have missed. So the things I understood about the science fiction-y plot part was that alien spacecraft were visiting our Earth. Now, it doesn't mean there's any aliens in them. For instance, we've had our Earth alien spacecraft visiting Mars, Venus, our moon, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and some other objects. Only one of those, the moon, did any humans come along. And as we know, it's much harder to send living beings to other galaxies or other stars, for that matter. So because of all that, I wouldn't expect them to have, living beings inside them anyway. If there's any evidence of extraterrestrials here, I would think it'd be their machines. I mean, we didn't start off by sending humans to other worlds in our solar system. We started off with machines. Let's see here. N5BB with more comments. So that's my feeling there. There's alien machines, which at the end you see one of them breaks up. So I don't think there were any alien living creatures in there. It looks like it was, what you saw was composed of a lot of little pieces that came apart. And these alien machines would, during certain times of the day, they would automatically send out these patrol vessels that would try to kill anybody. In some mysterious way, there was a blinding white light, and if you were caught in some death ray, something happened to you. It's not clear what, because they were trying to really limit their special effects. We didn't see what happened. We know that somebody was made to go away there at the end, the woman. She went outside and, purposely committed suicide there. But we didn't see what really happened. We heard earlier in the thing that there was a really bright light because that's how the kid got blinded. But that's all we know. And we also are told why they're there. They're mining, and they're doing it at a frantic pace, which seemed to be picking up before, right at the end, they apparently stopped, at least right there, in England, or in Great Britain, where they were. So we didn't see the mining operation, unfortunately, but they were somehow mining very, very deep in the earth with some kind of machines. I wish they'd shown those to us. All they showed us was those patrol craft coming out of the mothership up above. We don't know how many motherships there were around the earth. We know what was happening right there in Great Britain, but I don't remember them talking about what happened in other places on the earth. It was kind of assumed that this was occurring everywhere, but there wasn't much discussion about the details. The radio appeared to be running on HF frequencies, if you heard what it sounded like. But if you look at the display, it was definitely in FM mode around 145 megahertz. So, and when you heard what the communication sounded like on the receiver, it wasn't very, it was realistic to non-hams, let's put it that way. Sure didn't sound to me like any HF communication I've ever heard. There was even some Morse code in there where they sent some real Morse code words, but it wasn't very meaningful. I heard the word, but I can't remember what it was. So it looks to me like they didn't really have a careful amateur radio consultant on that. It wasn't obvious if their dad had been a ham or he just had that radio. That wasn't obvious. So it would have been a little bit neater if they, shown the antenna and maybe showed the batteries or something. But no, that requires more props or special effects. They didn't want any of that. They had the radio sitting on the table, and that was good enough. This is Inside BB. As far as the plot, I guess it was kind of okay. The young lady and her younger brother, the guy that they don't really trust that well, that breaks in, that she grows close to. I thought it was kind of a cop-out at the end where they killed him off. So the lady, right before committing suicide, kills him. So there's a lot of revenge in this, which also bothers me. Completely different from the previous movie in Australia. People were rather calm. They were lining up in lines to get some kind of medicine to commit suicide. They weren't out there shooting each other and stealing food or anything. It wasn't that obvious how long this had gone on. So I didn't understand why it was such a big need to go out and steal things. This is Inside BB. As far as the thermal blankets, they didn't say, but I'm guessing maybe they were trying to insinuate there were some kind of infrared sensors that sensed them when they were outside, and it was zapping. I guess it would zap other moderate-sized animals, like maybe horses and, the goat they kept inside. So maybe it would also, zap livestock and other large animals. As to why that was occurring, I'm assuming that the aliens' their machines, did not want any interference with their little mining operation. So anything that might be interfering with them, like animals, they just zapped them all. And again, if they're robotic kinds of things, they may not have cared whether they were sentient or not. I guess they thought if they were smart enough to protect themselves from their evil beams, then maybe they were okay. Again, I thought the end was like a cop-out in 5BB, where right at the end, the problem seemed to go away, and the two main characters had not killed themselves or gotten killed. Who knows what happened next? I guess they could have another movie. This is N5BB. End of comments.
Very good, thank you, Bill. And you stole my thunder about the automated machine-only society invaders. That's kind of where I was going to go with mine. But I'll have some other comments in a little bit. Bill, W5DLT, what do you have to say about the Quiet Hour from 2014, our movie this week? What did you think about the plot from KE5ICX?
KE5ICX, W5LT, formerly AI5DY. As a blind guy, I thought they could have developed the whole blindness thing a little more. There's always an adjustment when people lose their vision, so I'm not sure they developed that. I thought he had been blind all his life. As someone who's been blind all my life, I thought he was pretty well adjusted to the vision loss. The other, I was lost for a while, so I'm glad you guys filled in some gaps. I thought they also talked DB, so I wasn't sure. That sounded like an HF rig. I would have been communicating with other people around the world to try to find out what happened. And so it was just sort of weird they communicated over the radio. It was just it's a strange movie. I thought they had a great storyline and could have really taken it places. And so at first I was very intrigued. And I didn't get to do last week's movie with y'all, but that one left me pretty down after last week, and this one just finished me off. All right, back to net control, W5BLT.
All right, very good. Thank you, Bill. And, you know, so I don't always preview the entire movie when these things get picked. I just look at it a little bit and see if it looks like something we might be able to watch, and then I watch it. Usually Friday evening, like last night, is typically the time. Friday evening is usually when I watch the film. So I don't always know exactly what it's going to be, and I don't always read the synopses really close because I don't want any spoilers. I like to be surprised or depressed or just whatever it is that you're going to get out of that movie. So two apocalyptic films at the same time is kind of a bummer. And if I had known, I probably wouldn't have done it, knowing that it was similar in that way. Okay, this is KE5ICX. I'll go ahead and ask, are there any additional check-ins? Tonight's movie is The Quiet Hour from 2014, a post-apocalyptic film with everybody, well, not a lot of people in it, with alien spacecraft taking over at least England and probably the world, mining all the minerals that are in England. Anybody like to join us? Please come with your call sign name. Did you see the movie? Please come down. Okay, well, let's see here. My comments on the movie. First off, this is part of a, I don't know if you want to call it a renaissance or an awareness of low-budget, small science fiction films that are being produced at relatively low cost. Now, we've always had that back in the 50s with one-off films, and creating storylines using existing sets and all of that. But still, that was a significant amount of money that would go into it. Now with the ability of using HD video, you can get a film appearance without actually having to buy real emulsion film and expensive cameras. I suspect this is one of those films. It didn't have as super expensive cameras or any film. It was probably an HD video that actually was used for making the film. So what does somebody with a limited budget do? Well, one of the things you can do is just take a generic story or take a well-known type of story, which is invasion. It could be invasion from another country. It could be invasion from another group or clan. It can be an invasion, in this case, from outer space. Just throw some glowing lights in it, and you've got an invasion. So there's that. The second part of this is that if you show the aliens, it's just like what Stanley Kubrick said when he was doing 2001. They were trying to figure out how they were going to do an alien reveal. And being the perfectionist that he was, he decided not to do that at all and just use the monolith shape. Because as he put it, and I would agree, as soon as you see the alien, you know it's a guy in a rubber suit, and that just totally takes you out of the moment. And I think with a low-budget film like this, that's exactly what would have happened. So I go with Bill's theory, and I think that it would make the most sense, although they're not really big on revealing a lot of information in this film, is that it's an alien probe, alien surveyors, alien, whatever you call them, miners, going in and doing all the mining that is shown in the pictures. So that part really didn't bother me in any way, shape, or form, and as we get the close view of one of the little scout ships, or not so little scout ships going over, it looks very mechanical. It looks very almost something that your U.S. Air Force might build or NASA might build as far as the construction. So it wasn't totally outrageous or organic or anything like that. It was just very mysterious, and nobody knew what it was. Another thing about the plot itself, and this is a problem, and I've mentioned this in other films, you start the film a certain way, you end the film a certain way, right? And your characters should have evolved or become better. This one did not feel like that. The circumstances dictated all that happened. We start out, well, they're already been invaded, but there's pictures of them before the invasion and happiness and everybody getting along. And then at the end of the film, without explanation, the aliens or the alien spacecraft leave. They've done their biz, and they've now gone on to better places. I don't know, maybe Mars has some nice minerals that can go there. In fact, I probably would have gone to Mars first rather than Earth if they're doing minerals. I assume it's made out of the same materials, and you don't have to keep the local population down. Because I don't think any microbes or less are going to put up a big fight. Which, while talking out loud, does make a lot of sense to me. Why on Earth? Why on Earth? That's it. Why on Earth? I won't even finish the sentence, because why on Earth? Why not Mars? Why not some other planet? How about, I don't know. Mars, if you're in our solar system, Mars would be a really good choice. You can go and get all your minerals and do all the things that you want there. And I assume, and we don't know for sure, but I would assume that they would have done some scouting around and found these planets. So they go to a populated planet, decide to blind everybody, wipe out the population, which takes a bunch of time, rather than going someplace that has all that. There's planets that have old diamonds and things on it. So whatever the heck they're mining, it would have been easier. But then we wouldn't have a story, would we? I'm going to reserve some comments on the characters and the characterization, because really in the end, this is another one of these character studies, much like last week's film. So the more you discuss the plot, the more you're likely to discuss characterization. So I'm going to not go too deep into any of that till this next round. Let's see, do I have anything else? Machines, yeah, I said that. Invasion, I mentioned that. I guess that's it. That's what I had to say about it. Everybody talked about the radio, of course. I'm trying to find this 710. I guess that's what it was, with a green background display. I see an orange on all these others, so I don't know. if it was a 710 or something else. But then I'm doing the net, and I'm not really doing a lot of Googling right now. So let's move on. We'll start at the top of the list again, and this time, well, the top of my list at least, let's discuss characterization. There weren't a lot of characters in this, but there was a lot of interaction between them. So we'll start with Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, what did you think of characterization for the Quiet Hour, KE5ICX?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot. It seems like the main character was, I think her name was Sarah. Maybe wrong on that, the young girl. It seemed like it's more about her, dealing with knowing that both her parents had passed and, trying to protect her brother from the father recently passing. And having to, being obviously a young age and trying to figure out how she's going to protect him, provide, and then obviously now she's having to deal with this invader and then the people that he brought with him. So really she's one that probably maybe had the most development in this film, just because she had to basically learn to kind of try to stand up for him, but yet at the end she kind of broke down a little bit and then came back to there towards the end and went after him, but not a lot really. The brother, I agree with the comment the other gentleman said. There wasn't a whole lot, they didn't really dive too deeply into the blindness, which would have been kind of a main thing, and then obviously I guess he turned into being the good guy towards the end, but the guy that broke in, which I would guess in an apocalyptic type situation wouldn't necessarily make him a bad guy, because obviously if you found an empty house and it had supplies in it, you probably would do that too to survive. You'd be looking for anything. And after all, when he did go in initially, there wasn't nobody there. So, at that point, of course, he did lie some, so I guess that kind of makes him a bad guy at the beginning. But once again, not a lot of development from him. I'm not sure how long it was that all that had passed between his wife and kid dying, but then he started to hit on the young girl, which I found to be kind of creepy. That whole thing. So I wasn't real crazy about his character in general. The bad guys that raided the house or was after him, that seemed kind of strange too. I realized they're supposed to be cannibals, and they wanted revenge and probably to eat him, I guess, as well. Which I guess maybe some people would turn to that with a lack of food. But there definitely wasn't no character development with him at all whatsoever. Very one-sided. So yeah, it's a little strange. To kind of comment back on the plot, yeah, I kind of agree with what Bill said. These very well could have just been probes. That makes sense. After all, they say that someday our space exploration would probably be exactly that. We would send out ships that could, essentially repair themselves and build new parts and expand to adapt as it traveled and explored. So, yeah, it makes sense that it would go to plants and materials, because it needs materials to make more stuff. But you would hope that if that's the case, that they would put some kind of scanners and it wouldn't take from a world that was alive. But, so yeah, not a lot there. Just kind of, I guess as you said earlier, it's very much a one-act kind of film. Very low budget. Obviously, you could pretty much film the thing right there on the farm, and the CG was just subpar. So that's really all I got. Back to net. KB9SOK.
Thank you, Sean. Let's see here. Let's go on to Tom, N5HYP. Tom and Company, what did your gang think about characterization in the film The Quiet Hour from KE5ICX? N5HYP, come out of dreamland. Come on, I know you're there. You're snoring right now. Come on, Tom. N5HYP, wake up. Wake up. All right, we'll come back to Tom a little later. I'll put the asterisk here. He's known to do that. He runs away or he falls asleep or something. So, but he'll be back, I guarantee it. NT5TM, Tony, you still there? You got any comments? Go right ahead if you do, from KE5ICX.
Well, I am still here, and it's been intriguing to listen, but no, nothing really to add. I might see it someday if I have time. Probably won't have time this weekend, but I am still a little intrigued. So there's that, NT5TM.
All right, very good. We'll come back to you one more time probably. So if you're there, you're there. And you may have some final comments like, why are we even talking about this movie? That's what I would do. Next up is WB5OZL. Brenda, your comments on characterization for The Quiet Hour.
This is WB5OZL. I like the main character. She seemed very complex and was very driven to handle this disaster. Her brother was an idiot, and I don't like him at all. I think if you're blind that you'd be careful, or you'd be, a little more mindful than he was, and he just was very reckless. The guy that came into the house, he was an interesting character, but you didn't know whether he was lying or not, and I was really sorry he died. It would have been so much better had he lived, and then they could have started a new life together and lived somewhat happily. And the bad guys were just a little bit too bad. They didn't seem to have much to mention. They were just bad. Let's see, who else? The aliens, they were pretty bad too, weren't they? Well, I guess that's all I have. WB5OZL, back to net.
All right, very good. So let's see, next on the list is K0FER. Chris, your thoughts on characterization? Go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. If we are talking about characterization as far as acting goes, I think they did a very good job given what they were, the source material they were working off of. But I just didn't care for any of them. I was like, how on earth would you survive the apocalypse? And baddies were one-dimensional. Yeah, this was just a bad movie. The actors did a good job with what they had, but they didn't have much to work with, so lipstick on a pig and all that. K0FER, back to net.
All right, thanks, Chris. Let's see, 6, 7, N5BB. Bill, your thoughts on characterization?
Okay, this is N5BB. First, one comment on our blind member here of the group. Some things that you probably weren't able to figure out by listening. When the blind boy, he wasn't that young. He was was below the age of 18, but he was probably like, what do you think, high school age or something? Starting high school. He was a few years younger than his sister, but, you know, he wasn't 10 years younger than her. But when he went outside, they had a rope tied, a large rope. And so what he would do would be he would walk outside on the front porch, find the end of the rope, and then kind of throw it out. And then he would follow that rope out to the end of it to get to some places he was going that were like in their yard. So, and that's the way he got back, was finding that end of that rope out there and coming back. So that may explain some things there about how he went outside. And he was not blind from birth. He had been blinded when the alien spacecraft first came. They zapped the mom, and in that flash, or around the same time as the flash that killed her, it blinded him. The light was incredibly bright. So he survived, but he was blinded. Let's see. So he had not been blind that long. I did not understand how long it had been since the aliens first came. It didn't seem to me like it'd been several years, but it could have been 1 year. I wonder if anybody else got any hints from anything in the movie. It obviously wasn't just a couple of weeks, or there would have been more food, but it couldn't have been like 10 years or anything. It had to be, I would think, 1 or 2 years. That's my guess. And so he hadn't been blind that long, and he was still figuring out how to do these things. Some other comments about him and the radio. He was the one that used the radio, the blind guy. And I'm not familiar with the radio. It did have a green display, but I didn't figure out the model because they, I think, purposely shot the shot so dark that you saw that bright green display, but the rest of the front panel of the radio was mostly in shadows and very difficult to see. This is in 5BB. But a lot of radios, not all of them, but a lot of radios have a button that you can press that will let you know what frequency you're on for blind amateurs. There's a radio which I have recently taken out of service, Kenwood TS850, and with the voice option, yes, you can push a button and it will show you, it'll tell you on what frequency you're on, and it'll tell you via Morse code what mode you're in. So what they should have done is had such a radio and show him using those features. And to me, that would have added some more interest to it. In fact, if they'd made the radio, the use of that piece of amateur radio equipment, a little more developed, maybe showed the antenna or described how far away they were talking or something, I think, and they used the real 20 meters rather than 145 megahertz, I think it would have made it more interesting. Of course, I'm biased being a ham radio operator, but I think they at least could have used, limited site features on the radio to make it easier for him to use, to make it more interesting. As far as characterizations, we don't know a lot other about the boy, the brother of the girl, other than that he was blinded and he was really looking for his dad, and his mom passed away. But I don't remember hearing anything about what he liked, any friends or other relatives, zero else. The same thing with the girl, Sarah. So we know their last name was Connolly, Tom and Sarah. And we know that, of course, she was trying to protect their small family. And the blind amateur may not realize, but right near the start of the movie, she was burying her dad. So if you notice later in the movie, evidently she forgot to put a timer on or something, an alarm, and so her dad, she thought, accidentally went outside at the wrong time and got zapped by the alien machine. But it didn't vaporize his body. It somehow killed him, but I don't remember seeing anything other than a regular human body, fully clothed and everything. You could see his watch and everything as she buried him. So, I don't know. I wish they talked more, a little bit more about their backstory. You know, what were their likes, their hobbies? They evidently had no pets or no other activities. They just had a goat. And by the way, the goat was a member of the story early on, and then, to the best of my memory, it was totally gone the rest of the movie. I think it would have been more interesting if they somehow involved the goat further on. I guess that's it for characterization. Oh, for other characterization, is you notice carefully near the end of the movie, this is in 5BB, Jude, who is the guy that, you know, broke into the house essentially, that they kind of accepted. At the end of the movie, it's revealed by the bad woman that really wasn't so bad, except that she was vindictive, that she did not kill his family, that the woman his wife had purposely wandered off because she was despondent and been killed by the aliens. So that he evidently, Jude, had actually broken into their facility and was stealing food. And he was the one that killed somebody there in her family. All in all, it's a completely different take on it all than the movie from On the Beach in Australia, where everybody was nice to each other. And there wasn't all this apocalyptic killing going on, scramble for things. So that's what bothered this movie. This movie, it was really dark. I guess that's it in 5BB.
Okay, thank you, Bill. And we'll go to the other Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your thoughts on characterization?
All right. Let me also say, Brenda, I don't know earlier, too, if I doubled with you when we were first doing our call sign. So if so, I apologize. Forgot to mention that in the beginning. I had some problems with the character development. I didn't think there was enough dialogue. So I thought the characters were not as developed. The blind brother, there. Sometimes I think if you were not very likable before, blindness doesn't really change anything, and so I'm not sure. He didn't have a lot of sympathy for people. So I did think his sister truly wanted to help and was probably the most redeeming character in the whole film. A little bit of plot twist there with the characters, and it was kind of confusing because at first I wasn't sure who to believe. Were the bad guys really bad, and were they going to eat people? And as I ate my hamburger, I was glad I was eating a hamburger, and did not kind of expect the way that you find out that, really they didn't kill the one guy's wife. So I'm not sure if he was trying to protect himself mentally too. And I thought that Dad, and that's where I wasn't sure if the dad had purposely killed himself, and that's what the one gentleman that broke into their house said. So it was an interesting. Again, I was hoping for more character development, but yes, they did what they could with the script they had. It does seem like a typical, or kind of one of the British films, and it was, I think, really thought-provoking. And as the characters were in this movie, it did make me kind of wonder how we would all behave, and what would our character be like. And kind of that apocalyptic scenario. W5BLT, back to net control.
Thank you, Bill. And this is KE5ICXIM net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. We're talking about The Quiet Hour, a British 2014 movie about post-apocalyptic society, what's left of it, where the aliens are mining what's left of planet Earth, and we just have a few people left on the planet fighting amongst each other, a small group. Okay, my thoughts on this one, I agree with some of the comments that people have made about characterization, somewhat thin, although I read some of the reviews here, and they do claim that our central protagonist here was, and whose name escapes me right now, is well developed. I don't know if she really is well developed, but when it comes to the storyline, but okay. The thing that kind of surprised me, and maybe it's a television trope or a movie trope or whatever, I thought that if you're going to have, say, the son, Tom, who is blind, it almost seems as though this character should be younger. I think they cast an older character, an older actor to play this role. Yes, he's still a teen, I guess, in all of this, and younger than his sister. But it would seem to me that if you made him, I don't know, junior high school age, that going blind would be, both a traumatic experience and also, actually something that he could acclimate to. In other words, I think his character could have been more emotionally engaged. I think more sophisticated, but also more reactionary to things going on. He almost seemed very stoic through the whole thing, and some of the things that he did, he'd walk into situations and appear to be not so capable, I guess. And maybe that's part of the problem too, is the fact we really don't know how long this has been. We don't know how long he's been blind. Now, one thing that drove me nuts in this film while watching him, and I don't know if this is fair or not, but is he, since he was blinded, he may be, I don't know if he's reacting where the voice is or what, so he seems to be looking whenever he's walking around. He's looking forward, he's looking down, he's looking around, and I don't know if that would be something after losing his sight that he would naturally do, or whether that's a failure on the actor's part. I don't know. I would think that if you are not able to see in this complete darkness, that you have nothing to really look at, in quotes. So that kind of was something that bothered me in the film. Our protagonist, the guy that breaks into the house and then becomes a friend, it almost was too easy when that happened. It reminded me of an episode of Twilight Zone. It had Elizabeth Montgomery and Charles Bronson in it. You may remember the last two people on Earth that are fighting against each other in this broken down city somewhere. There's very little dialogue in it. In fact, Elizabeth Montgomery has no dialogue in it, and she's able to act her way through it. Now, again, that's only a 25-minute episode. It's only 30 minutes long total with commercials, so it does zip along at a pretty good pace. Another Twilight Zone like that, where there's no dialogue at all except at the very end, at the twist ending with the communications, is the episode with Agnes Moorehead, where the spaceship lands in this farmhouse. There's not a word spoken. The entire thing is her reaction to what's going on. And you really feel for the character. You can feel the desperation. But again, it's only 22, 25 minutes long. Maybe the silent hour should have been an hour long. I'm thinking maybe that would have been maybe an answer to all our problems. It did run long, and I think it kind of petered out a bit because of that with the slow pacing. I could see the scene with the son. I mean, he's playing second fiddle, the brother, I guess. And what he says, well, I saw my mother. It was the last thing I saw before I went blind. Okay, end of scene, move on to something else. That seems to me that would be something that would be very traumatic, that his emotions would have been far more elevated in something like that when telling the story. You know, part of the thing is that when you bring in other characters, and the brother and the sister have been living together for so long, is just that they explain what's going on and how it happened. That would have been interesting. That would have been a good way of doing it. The other thing, too, and it was brought up, I think it was Chris who brought it up, and I thought it was a good point. When you've got these outsiders coming in and they're looking for this guy, we don't know if they're good or bad. We don't know if he's good or bad. And that, to me, would have been a scenes that, and motivations that could have been played with a lot more than what they were. They certainly had the time to do it, where his behavior, the protagonist in the house, might seem erratic, or there might be something he would do. Maybe he would use the radio to communicate when they're not looking. Something like that. I don't know. It just seemed odd to me that they couldn't do more with any of the characters that they had. And at the end, when the gal says, well, you killed my husband, and well, I'm going to go kill myself. This has to end now. Goodbye. And she's vaporized. Okay. It would have been nice to, I appreciate her willingness to understand the situation, but in the end, she just disappeared. We could have had her be that character that we didn't understand, and suddenly she does something heroic, another television or movie trope. But that never came to pass. She was gone in no time, and all right, fine. Her husband, we didn't know very well. The other character the other character just got shot. Yay. It was like, you gave me no reason to really hate them, nor love them, nor like them. I should have all those emotions going on in the time that they had to do this movie. Now, granted, it all revolved around the sister, mostly, and then the protagonist turned love interest thing, I guess, was where they were focusing, but the pacing was so slow that I think the movie was screaming out for more interaction with the other characters. I don't know. I'm not a director, not a producer. I do write things, but this isn't one of those things I write. So I don't know. I feel the characters could have been much more engaging, and they had the time to do it. So those are my comments. Let's see. So that's it on all of that. Hang on. I'm going to mention an aside. I think the next round we're just going to have it open discussion for whatever anybody wants to talk about. So think about something you would like to bring up. If there's something in addition to plot or characterization or even if you want to talk about special effects, though there weren't very many in the film, there's something else you want to talk about involving the film or any ancillary stuff, you can go ahead and do so. I'm going to mention a series that I kind of enjoyed that ended after only 3 seasons, and it was called The Colony. And The Colony involves alien invasion, of course, and setting up Los Angeles as part of a block. They're part of the colony. The people on Earth are the colony rather than the aliens who've taken over the rest of the world. So they're in essence in a prison. And most of this really has nothing to do with the aliens at all. It has everything to do with all the characters and how they interact with each other and who's conspiring with the aliens and why are the aliens there. And we never get to see them. In fact, they're barely even shown in any of the episodes. And they started doing a reveal in season 3, which I think in the end was a bad idea. Keeping some of the mysteries is a good thing. That's what J.J. Abrams always tries to do. He leaves more questions than answers to stories, which can be perplexing and difficult. So, I don't know. Maybe this movie allows that to happen as far as the plot is concerned. There's more questions than answers. So, but watch the series. It's called The Colony. I believe it's available on Netflix. First season's quite good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I like the first and second episodes of the second season where we actually get to see a little bit of the invasion. That was kind of fun. Lots of teases. Very much the same and similar way they go about doing that. All right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. If anybody has any comments, I'll take you in order of your call sign. So if you got additional comments, or even if you're a late check-in, just give me your call sign now, and we'll go down the list. So please come with your call signs.
WB5BLT.
N5HYP, I'm back awake again.
All right, excellent. I got Bill, W5BLT, and I've got N5HYP, Tom. So we'll start with Bill. Go right ahead with your comments.
Okay, 2 things. As I was growing up as a kid, they always taught me how to face someone as you were talking to them. So that could be more realistic, maybe a sister imparted that to him. I don't know. I would have expected him to use some sort of a stick. I don't know if you used a stick to move around or just that rope. Kind of fashion a makeshift cane. The other thing, I thought when the alien ships went by, and granted I sped it up kind of at the end on the YouTube app, but I thought the spaceship sounded like a train or something at first. So anyway, the sound effects there. At first I thought a train was going by, so I was confused. Getting used to the new call sign. W5BLT.
All right, thank you, Bill. Yeah, kind of interesting sound effects, I guess. I thought it was actually a train. I watched this movie outside, believe it or not. I have a porch out there, or a deck, and I recently installed a television. So there's train tracks nearby to me, and there are occasionally trains that do go by, and I just thought it was a train going by. Oh well, now I know better. Next up is Tom, N5HYP. Tom, you missed around. I thought maybe you may have fallen asleep, so spill your guts. What would you like to talk about? We got characterization and anything else you want. Go right ahead from KE5ICX.
This is N5HYP. I mean, it it was an interesting movie. No, there was, you know, writing-wise, it was a little bit, it felt like it lacked some elements. It lacked, you know, I mean, and it was done, it was this small scale, which was very, very interesting. And I mean, again, if you don't have a lot of money for a lot of special effects, you're best to build things up in a very small scale, and that's what they did. It was, yeah, I mean, and the character development was as we discussed earlier, I think was kind of poor. You don't have a clue how far into this they were. Obviously, the boy, the brother there, he had been flash blinded by the aliens when they first arrived. We don't get an idea how long they were hanging out like this. And obviously they had batteries and flashlights that worked over the course of however many weeks or months that we don't know that they were that they were there in this situation. Yeah, but they obviously didn't have regular electricity anymore. So, yeah, it's unless they had good solar charging stations, because they couldn't go outside to make sure those charging stations were still working. Anyway, small scale, interesting concept, could have been developed better. Yeah, it was an okay movie. I won't watch it again. This is N5HYP, back to net.
Alright, thank you, Tom. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I probably won't see it again. It wasn't one of those that really intrigued me. I like some of the ideas. I think that the story itself could have been well done. And as I mentioned about the series The Colony, I think that worked much better as far as intrigue in that form. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? And of course, there's the science fiction series Babylon 5, which is a favorite of mine, even though the special effects weren't so special. The intrigue and that went along with that was great, and each episode had its own pathos that went along with it, which I thought was really interesting. Anyone else have any comments? Any last words on this film before I do the next movie reveal? Please come with your call. All right, well, I guess no one. That's okay. We're close to the bewitching hour anyway. I'm going to start mentioning this, and I don't remember if I did it last week or not, but I'm going to tell you now. Tom, N5HYP is planning a potential get-together outside to watch a movie, and it is called Max Headroom, 20 Minutes into the Future. It's the pilot that was used to create the television series from 1987, in fact, which was a fantastic series. We have not actually done, I don't think we've done a review of it. There were two versions of the film. There was a British version that was done with the Max Headroom, which was actually a character in a television series, not just a TV host that he's better known for as the Pepsi ad man, but it's got some really cool parts to it. There's the British version and then the American version, which is what was used for the television series that ran 2 seasons back in 88, 89, I believe. At any rate, we're talking about doing that on Friday, October 29th, and then we'll discuss it on October 30th. The British version is available to watch on streaming out over the air if you can't come. but we'll go ahead and start mentioning it now. That's going to be October 29th, a Friday evening, where we'll go and watch either one or both of the films, depending on what we all decide upon. So that's coming up in October, the end of October. So next week's movie, are you ready? Are you ready for this? Let me reset. YouTube is offering up the Star Trek Next Gen movies for free right now. So one of the films is Star Trek Insurrection from 1998. That's their film for next week. Followed by on October 2nd will be Unknown World from 1951. So next week's movie, Star Trek Insurrection from 1998. If you'd like to be included in the list, if you're listening out there and would like to participate, want to know about the movies ahead of time, certainly at the end of this net, but also you can go to Afterglow Movie on Facebook. That's 2 words, Afterglow and Movie, and just sign up there. I'll let you in. Or you can send, if you're not a fan of Facebook, not everybody is, you can send me an email, Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX, that's KE5ICX, at yahoo.com, and say you want to join the Afterglow Movie group, and I'll put you on the list, and you'll get the movie updates nearly always on Sunday mornings. And that includes, of course, Facebook as well, on where you can see the movie. If anybody's got any ideas about films that they would like to see, just let me know as well. Send me an email, or even here during the net or after the net, just shoot. We'll see what we can find. I try and keep them science fiction. We've gone off of that. But generally speaking, our most popular ones are always science fiction. So if there's something out there that we can probably see, and it's relatively low cost or no cost, let us know, and we'll do it. And maybe one of these years we'll get back to seeing movies in person. I'm looking forward to Max Headroom as a way of maybe doing that. But I'd still like to go to a movie again. In fact, on this day 5 years ago, it was a Facebook reminder, several of us that are on this net this evening, Tom and Brenda for sure, and myself, along with about 7 other people, went to see Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Love the Bomb, at one of the local theaters, actually down in at 35 and 635. And we had a lot of fun. Went out to dinner after lunch. Really, it was a matinee, and then talked about the movie that evening. So maybe we get to do that again here in the near future. At least we might be able to on October 29th. Okay, that's it from me. I'm going to go ahead and close the net. Thank you all for participating. We'll see you here next week at 10:30 or thereabouts after the Afterglow Movie Net. So 7-3, everybody, have a good rest of the weekend, and we'll see you here next week. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.
Hey, I was there 5 years ago, Tom, in 5BB. Wow! It's amazing to me it was 5 years. Doesn't seem like that. I guess it's because COVID's kind of screwed up the last 18 months in 5BB.
Yeah, you were there. I'm going to go back and find the picture again if I can. It comes up once, and then you look through it. It says, this day last year. Oh, here it is. Oh, Jay was there. Jay was there. You were there. Tom's family was there. Who else that's on the nets? There's a few people that come and go. They're in there, but yeah. So that was fine. I think there was some. Oh, Brenda hadn't shown up yet. She was there too. I think there's another picture. Let's see who else was there.
Was Billy and her mom there?
I'm looking for the other picture. There were. Hold on. There was more. There they are. Yeah, I think she showed up. That was. I don't remember because we went to a bunch of different movies. We've been to what, a half dozen different movies. But Mike was there, and Mike's wife. Randy was there. There's Jay off in the background in the theater. So, yeah. I think Billy went to a bunch of them, she and her mom. So, I don't know if that was one of them or not. I don't see her in the pictures, but it's entirely possible she was there for that.
Yeah, it's been 5 years, so I've forgotten. In fact, I hope her mom's doing okay. It's been a couple of years at least since I've seen her. Or for that matter, seen some of the other people that are on this net. Anyway, maybe if everybody will get their shots, by the end of this year we can get back to some semblance of normality. Of course, we said that early this year, and it hasn't happened yet. Okay, Tom. Well, we'll see you next week. This is N5BB. Good night. Hey, we're finishing before midnight.
Hey, Bill, before you go, I took a picture of one of the trivia questions they asked on Dr. Strangelove. So here's the question. What are the names of the two H-bombs in Dr. Strangelove? Was it A, Jiffy and Turbo, B, Raggedy Ann and Andy, C, Lolita and Dear John, or D, Acme and Roadrunner? Which one do you think it is?
Oh, my. Each one of those has a certain little interesting thing about it. I cannot remember.
Well, I'm gonna say, and I'll have to look it up because I didn't actually take a picture of the answer, but I think it's Lolita and Dear John, and the reason I say that is that when it was a Stanley Kubrick film, and I think didn't Stanley do a movie called Lolita?
I thought that was, well, yes. So I'm looking here. In the original book, the Hi There bomb is named Lolita. Yeah, so it was those two. You know, Tom, before you guessed, if you'd forced me to make a guess, that's what I would have guessed. And, so the original book, they named it Lolita, but I think they named it Hi There. They changed it to Hi There for the movie, I believe, N5BB.
Yeah, well, here it is. It is, psychological comedy drama film. Now, I'm a Stanley Kubrick fan, but I've never seen Lolita, and I would probably bludgeoned to death by other Stanley Kubrick fans. That's James Mason, Shelley Winters, Peter Sellers, and Sue Lyon in it. I guess it was very... It says here, too, it says that Kubrick expressed doubt they would even attempted to make the film had he fully understood how severe censorship limitations would be. The film received an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay at the 35th Academy Awards. In any case, I went off on a tangent there, but yeah, interesting. All right, I'm going to let you go. We'll watch the last of, what am I watching? Well, it's almost over anyway. The last 30 seconds of Kojak, and then Lost in Space. I don't know what episode it is tonight. I'll figure it out, though.
Yep, this is N5BB. Shelley Winters was in that movie, believe it or not. And Peter Sellers. The actress that played Lolita was actually only 14 years old when the movie was made, evidently. and a number of things were changed from the book, but that was a very scandalous book and movie when it came out. Anyway, see you later in 5BB.
Quick trivia question, Tom. This is N5IMS.
Share this picture. This is hilarious. It's from a number of years ago. All right, see you later. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear as well.
JJ, double with you, Tom.
Yeah, I got a quick trivia question for you, Tom. N5IMS.
You guys started to double again, but JJ wants to ask you something. You better go ahead and ask it, JJ, because you guys keep doubling.
All right. My quick question is, how did the Avatar Max Headroom get his name? Do you remember?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Elvis,
Because our character who was evacuating or leaving at a high rate of speed, the max headroom was, I think, the gate or the girder above. It's the maximum headroom, and he was just a little too short, or a little too tall.
Bingo, got that right. But it's interesting that he got his name from a warning sign. But I enjoyed the series and the movies. They were quite good. I'll let you get back to your show. Don't want to have you miss Lost in Space. 7-3 and 5IMS clear.
I don't think I really saw a complete TV thing or the movies. I saw little snippets of it, so I knew who the Max Headroom character was. But I don't think I saw any one episode all the way through. So that would be interesting to look at. It's definitely from that time frame, what with the, the bad connection and the, VHS, VCR kind of rough playback, and I tell you, right as we were starting the internet. Anyway, see you guys later in 5BB clear.
Bill. Have a good sleep. And 5IMS clear.